Hey, what's going on, guys? So today we're looking at the Buck and Bear LYNX. All right. Now, not to be confused, even though this is marked LYNX, I've seen other models of the folding knives from Buck and Bear also called the LYNX, even though they have different designs. More specifically, this one is the 5051, which is marked right here. This obviously has the gray G10. So I've also seen this called just the gray LYNX. So they might use the name like interchangeably, which could be a little confusing. But backstory on this, I got their fixed blade, my first Buck and Bear fixed blade. I was very impressed by it. I liked it a lot. I wanted to try some other stuff in the company because it was new to me. And the first thing I wanted to do was try one of their folders, being more of a folder guy than fixed blades. This one kind of caught my eye, and the second I got it in my hands, I did not like it. Simply just because of the ergonomics. It was not comfortable, borderline painful. And so I carried it, I gave it a fair shot, and I used it, you know, and I still don't like it. So I'm here to tell you about it. So first off, let me just shoot some specs at you real quick for the people who care. 8.2 inches overall, 4.7 inches in the closed position. All right, it's rocking a 3.5 inch 440C blade. It is marked right here, 440C. The actual performance of the blade, not bad. Not bad at all. 440C is fine for me. I know some people get really picky with their steels and stuff, but it's a very usable knife. 5.4 ounces on the weight. You can see it is stainless lines with some G10 scales on here. There's a liner lock. No blade play in any direction. Nice and tight still, even after some usage on it. And this sells for between 40 and 60 bucks. Okay, that's the price range, in between 40 and 60. Now, as far as the looks, I like the looks. I think it's a good looking blade. You know, we have a flat ground drop point blade here, like a heavy swedge, but it's more of a design feature as opposed to, you know, anything functional. It's not ground down all the way or sharpened or anything like that. Just an interesting, you know, blade. So the first thing that I want to talk about are the scales. Okay, they have these G10 scales on top. Now, when I first saw a picture of this, I kind of noticed that the scale, it doesn't fit the liners, and it's obviously on purpose. It's not an accident or anything. And I've had knives like that before that I haven't liked. The major reason I have not liked them for ergonomics is because when you take away the scale material, you're just left with the liners. So in pretty much every single model, any knife model that has this, where the scale's like smaller, and again, it's just a design thing. To some people, they look at it, it looks like it's not right. Other people get it. You kind of go, okay, I get it. It's just a different look, you know what I mean? But what you're always left with every single time is just basically a knife without liners. And what happens is it makes it thinner. Now, this one's not too bad as far as the liners not being super thin. I've had different knife models where it was a similar type thing where the scales kind of dipped down and you had the exposed, you know, liners, but they were super thin and like very sharp. I don't get it. I don't particularly, I mean, the more I see it, the less I like it. I didn't really like it a lot in the beginning. Overall, if these scales fit the knife, I think it's a good looking folder. I think it's nice looking, but like I said, the more time I have with it, the less I like it. And I mean, even more specifically, you can see the hardware on the inside there. There's a screw head for this you know, blade stop. So I don't know, just not liking how it looks. But again, all those spots where it doesn't match up, it makes a thinner edge. On the back here, because they do line up, it's much wider. So inherently, when you grip it and you hold it and feel it and touch it and stuff, being much wider, it's more comfortable. You know, any thin spots, like if the back of the knife here was as thin as the you know, spine of the blade, it'd be very uncomfortable to have your finger on that all the time. So down here, you feel all the metal poking. And it's not super sharp, you know, it's a little rounded on the edges, but it just has that kind of bare metal feeling, a very unfinished feeling, which is not very comfortable. My biggest issue, by far, is the jimping here. Okay, there's jimping on the back of the blade here, and there's jimping on, you know, the liners on both sides, so this entire area is aggressively jimped. It's one of those, let me get you a nice focus shot here. It's one of those jimping patterns that's like, best way I can describe it is ticklish. It's not like aggressive where it's holding my finger back. It's actually quite smooth. All the peaks of those tops and ridges, it's all smooth. So your finger still slips. It's not really facilitating much grip, but it's also so deep that it's like uncomfortable on the finger. I don't know. It's very hard to explain. It's not purposeful jimping. It's like totally aesthetics. You know, a lot of people are really into knives that are super grippy and you got to have their jimping and, you know, this, that, and the other thing. So you're looking at it, you're like, yeah, that's for me. That definitely, oh man, my thumb's not going anywhere. No, it's not actually that functional. But even worse is the fact that when you use this flipper, because obviously it is a flipper design, if you didn't notice, it does flip out. When you use the flipper, when you push down, you're building up all the pressure. When the pressure is released, guess where your finger goes? Right down on the jimping. And it really hurts the tip of your finger. I don't know if you can see the markings on my finger, but it is not comfortable. Every time I open this, it just hurts my finger more and more. Just chewing me up and spitting me out. All right. That hurts. I don't know if you can tell. My finger is dented. Okay. So it's very uncomfortable. Anyway. Yeah, so that's not, it's just not a good design. In addition, there's also jimping on the back of the flipper. Now, on some models, it's not that big of a deal. It's obviously supposed to facilitate grip so you don't slip and miss the flipper, fine. But I never really liked that because number one, it's not always necessary. And number two, it always becomes your guard. So when you're up here, guess what? You feel that aggressive jimping on the top of your finger if your hand rides up, which is also uncomfortable. Liner lock is also jimped. That's actually the only functional jimping on this knife. It does facilitate good grip on the thumb, so you can get to that liner lock. It is super smooth, you know, locks up nice, and it's smooth opening. It's just, I cannot get over the fact of how much this is just so uncomfortable. I can't do it. In addition to that, just by design, because I have a little bit larger hands, they're not huge or anything, but naturally holding this knife, can you see that right there? This liner, by design, just is right in the middle of my pinky. So every single time I use this knife, I have to automatically choke down so it goes in between the ring finger and the pinky. Otherwise, it is super, super uncomfortable. And again, I don't even have the luxury of having the width of the liners. It's just, or excuse me, of the scales being there too to kind of cushion that point. So just super, super uncomfortable. I can't get over it. That's it. For me and my personal taste and everything, I cannot get over the fact that this is so uncomfortable, which is a shame because if the liners were extended and this jimping wasn't there, I'll tell you, I would like this knife. And at its price point, it wouldn't be a bad buy at all. But because it's so uncomfortable, I'm just totally not into it. Totally turned me off to it. I do, however, like the scales. This just has, unidirectional, I guess is what you'd say, grooves in this, and it's really cool. It's very nice. I can't recall offhand any knives that had that before. It's also kind of contoured. Might be hard to tell, but it's a little bit contoured as well. So the scales themselves are actually really comfortable. It just doesn't work with this particular knife. As far as the pocket clip here, something else that kind of bugged me a little bit is you could see that naturally by design it's on an angle. Now this is usually not a big deal. Most pocket knives out there, okay, they have pocket clip, they're usually kind of in line with the the knife itself. This one is canted enough to the point where when this is in your pocket, because this is set up for tip up right side carry, and as you can see, it's not swappable. So you're stuck with this. Either you like this carry method or you take the pocket clip off. But when this is in the pocket, the knife is up against your seam, which is where you want it. The pocket clip itself is like, cockeyed, it's canted. All right, not a huge deal, but if you're kind of conscious of how your knife pocket clip looks in your pants, this one's like kind of way off on an angle as opposed to just straight down with the seam of your pants. It doesn't affect its usability or anything. It clips in fine, actually, because the texturing on here, it holds very nicely, but it's easy, smooth enough to pull out. So the tension's great and everything. The pocket clip itself is great. It's just, again, maybe a design feature that I don't particularly like because it's so canted. Because of the position they put this in, nothing's in the way. They could have made this a straight pocket clip. I'm not really sure why it's on an angle. They could have just moved this over and straightened it out. You know what I mean? So, again, no real rhyme or reason behind it. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much the sum of it. It's a little bit on the heftier side, 4 or 3.5 inch blade. But again, I can deal with that. If the scales were even with the frame and, the jimping wasn't there, I can still even get over this part here because again, choking down is not the worst thing in the world. It's just naturally I want to choke up on it. I want to get a good secure grip, get that, finger guard up where my finger is, That's what feels good, especially when you're using it much harder. If you're doing light chores, cut open boxes and stuff, you can do all kinds of different, looser grips. But when you're doing hard work, you want to get nice and tight up there. And for me, it's a no-go with that design. It's jamming my pinky. So not good for bigger hands. Unless you had huge hands, If you have massive hands, then yeah, maybe your fingers naturally land so that it's in between two fingers, you know, the pinky and the ring finger. But for most people, it's probably gonna be uncomfortable or cramped. So it's cramped, it's uncomfortable here, it's not very comfortable to flip out. In fact, it's so uncomfortable, I'm only doing this for the review here, but it's so uncomfortable to flip this out that at some point when I was carrying it, I started just going like this to open it. All right, you can get a little pinch grip with the middle finger and the thumb here. All right, and it's a pretty strong detent, which is nice. It makes for a good flipper. You can hear it kind of popping. But you have, you know, you can get enough grip on this blade to do that. Ride it out with the thumb on the side of the blade. But you shouldn't have to do that. I mean, come on, it's a flipper. You're probably buying this because you like flippers and you want to be able to flip it out, right? But super uncomfortable. So those are my opinions on the LYNX, the 5051 from Buck and Bear. Total miss for me, which is a shame because I really like the fixed blade that I already showed you guys, and I have one of their smaller folders, which is kind of more of a decorative piece than a user, you know, which you'll see in the future and stuff. But this was going to be a great representation of a very usable, you know, tactical, you know, everyday folder, an EDC knife, you know, for a lot of people. And I have to say, I mean, if this was 20 bucks, I'd still not like it. So the fact that it's in between 40 and 60, I mean, there's just way too many better options. There's too much competition to go, yeah, I really want that knife. You know what I mean? So totally lost me on this one. Not a fan whatsoever. If you happen to have this exact knife or a similar version of the, you know, the LYNX, because there are other, you know, models or designs, let me know what you think of them. Let me know your opinions on it as well. So looking forward to the comments. Thanks for watching. Hope you guys have an awesome day, and I'll see you guys soon. Take care.